The U.S. Arab Radio Network is proud to offer the Ray Hanania Show with veteran journalist Ray Hanania, the U.S. correspondent for the Arab News newspaper. U.S. Arab Radio broadcasts content Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. on WNZK AM 690 in Detroit, WDMV 700 in Washington, D.C., and simulcast through stations around the country. Programs will rerun from 5 till 6 p.m. Visit us on Facebook at U.S. Arab Radio. And we're also streaming live on Facebook.com/Arab News.
And welcome to the Ray Hanania Radio Show, Season 3, Episode 23, October 4th, 2023, broadcasting on the U.S. Arab Radio Network on WNZK AM 690 Radio in Detroit and on WDMV AM 700 Radio in Washington, D.C. Sponsored by Arab News, the voice of a changing region at arabnews.com. This week we speak with two great guests with fascinating stories to tell about their government services to Arab Americans. First, Farrah Khan, mayor of Irvine, California. Mayor Khan has been a groundbreaking leader, making history in 2020 as the first woman of color and the first Muslim woman to lead a major city in the United States. Re-elected in 2022, she has continually been a trailblazer in policy and public service. Mayor Khan's commitment to inclusiveness and equality mirrors the core values of the Arab and Muslim community. She is a major speaker at the ADC Alex Oda Conference in Anaheim, California this weekend, October 6th and October 7th. And our next guest, of course, Maria Pappas, the Cook County Treasurer. She's one of the highest vote getters in Cook County in Illinois and one of the state's most popular elected officials. Pappas has been treasurer since 1998 after serving several terms on the Cook County Board. Cook County has more than 6 million residents. Pappas recognized that among those residents, many ethnic Americans were not able to engage government services. So she decided to do something about it. We're going to talk to her about how she translated her website into 127 languages, including reaching out to Arab Americans and helping them with the services that her office offers. But first, let's take a quick break and we'll be right back right after these messages.
ArabNews.com, bringing you breaking news from across the Middle East and the latest on Arabs in America. Get inside the latest headlines with expert analysis and insights at ArabNews.com. Join over 5 million Facebook fans and over 10 million monthly readers. ArabNews.com, news that matters to you. Get ready for an amazing experience at Ishtar Restaurant on 15 Mile Road in Sterling Heights. Enjoy excellent hospitality from owners Ali Al-Baghdadi and Fatty Bottom, serving the best in Mediterranean food. Try Chef Ali Al-Baghdadi's famous shawarma, the best Iraqi grills and food, and the best Arabic and international dishes. Dine in our authentic atmosphere or take out. Call 586-698-2585 or check us out on Facebook. Ishtar Restaurant practices all CDC guidelines and is open every day 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Have an amazing experience today at Ishtar Restaurant, 3625 15 Mile Road, Sterling Heights. With more than 30,000 successful in vitro fertilizations, IVF Michigan is now ranked as one of America's best fertility clinics according to Newsweek magazine. IVF Michigan fertility centers are the recognized leaders in high-quality fertility care. With locations in Bloomfield Hills and 9 other cities in Michigan and Ohio, IVF has experts in all aspects of the field. A founding member, American board-certified Dr. Nicholas Shama, is one of the leading reproductive endocrinologists in Michigan and Ohio. He has performed over 20,000 successful IVF cases, and it's helped thousands of couples fulfill their dreams of parenthood. When it's time to get personalized care from Dr. Nicholas Shama at one of America's best fertility clinics, call IVF Michigan Fertility Centers in Michigan and Ohio toll-free at 855-952-9600. 855-952-9600.
And welcome back to the Ray Hanania Radio Show. I'm Ray Hanania. My first guest, as I mentioned, is Farrah Khan. She is the mayor of Irvine, California, the first woman of color and the first Muslim woman to lead a major U.S. city. We're really honored to have her on the show. Mayor Khan, thank you so much for joining us on the radio show.
Thank you so much for having me.
First of all, just to kind of introduce yourself to the audience, maybe I'm sure many people have heard of you, but it'd be nice for them to hear about your background and why you got into politics. Tell us a little bit about your background and what motivated you to get into politics.
So, my background is in biotech. So I started off being a regulatory affairs manager for a biotech company up in Northern California. Then my husband, with our two little boys, we moved to Southern California for his business. And then I kind of transitioned from there to the business side and, started working with the community, volunteering my time, and ended up being the executive director of a local nonprofit. And through that work, I got to really be involved in the community, which kind of sparked my interest for politics, but always behind the scenes. And it wasn't until 2014, I was volunteering on a campaign. And after an event, we were kind of all sitting around talking. And I'd mentioned that, I really would look forward to more diversity when it came to leadership roles and elected officials. And the candidate's husband at the time said to me, well, I hope you're not thinking about running. And I said, I'm not, but why not? And he said, because people like you with names like yours are unelectable.
Right.
That was 2014. Wow. And,
Wow.
No one in the room said anything. No one said that that's wrong or, that's not true. It was just complete silence. And so, driving home, I'm talking to my husband, I'm talking to my sisters, and I'm just like so enraged. Like, how are we even today hearing comments like this and thinking that it's okay? And it just didn't settle well with me. So I ran for the first time for city council in 2016. I didn't win that year. I lost, but I was fourth out of 11 candidates that were running and gained a lot of local attention. And folks that really encouraged me to run again. And so in 2018, I ran again, came in first out of 12 candidates for city council. And then, of course, 2020, we had not only the pandemic, but the social injustice issues that we were faced with. And a mayor at the time that just didn't get the community's needs, was responding to people with, if you don't like the city I live in, go find another city to live in. And that was in the LA Times. And so, it really bothered me that no one was stepping up to challenge her, only because she was not only an incumbent, but a 20-year incumbent. She'd never lost any of her campaigns. But again, it was that drive of, we can't just sit here and not do anything. So being in a safe seat, I challenged her because if I lost, I still stayed on the council. And thankfully, in November of 2020, I beat her by 15,000 votes. Wow. And so, had the great honor of leading the city and, of course, won my reelection in 2022, which ends in December of 2024.
So you ran in 2016, you said, for council or the city council.
That's right.
In Irvine. And you lost that election?
I did.
How tough was that? I mean, a lot of people would be discouraged when they lose, and yet you came back 2 years later, because I assume your city council half runs 1 2 year and the other half runs the other 2 year. So, and you came back and ran. That's so against the grain. And being a Muslim woman, being from the Muslim world, and I'm sure most people look at you and think you're Arab or you're whatever. They don't understand the difference between Pakistanis, Palestinians, Iranians, and Egyptians or whatever. You come from a society where women are told, hey, step back, let the man do all the talking. You just broke out of that so quickly. Did you feel that you were breaking out of a shell or image and stereotype when you ran in 2016?
It was kind of hard because I think it didn't feel as big as it became, because I just felt like I was breaking out of my own personal shell where, I was very introvert and not the outgoing person and, sat in the back of the classroom. That was me. But I think it was that driving force of, all the negativity. In 2016, I'll tell you, I didn't want to run again after that campaign because it was just so brutal. There were signs throughout the city that basically said that I was a terrorist, that linked me with, the Muslim Brotherhood and that, I was supported by all these organizations and made me out to be this scary person. And I was just like, my gosh, for people that know me, I'm like the shyest person there. So it was also me fighting against that. And most of that campaign, I would come home and just cry my eyes out and just be like, what is this? Like, I heard politics was nasty and it was bad, but I didn't know how horrible it got, where people that you consider your friends when it comes to politics aren't your friends. And there's just so much of a struggle. But I do have to say there were key people in the community and in politics that reached out and basically said, you got to run again. You got to do it. You don't stop at the first time. And if it wasn't for their push, I probably wouldn't have run again. And then I'm so glad I did, because the second time around, I felt more confident and really pivoted from the attacks that happened. So the attacks, of course, continued, pitting me against all other communities, making me that one person that no one really understood or liked or should be scared of. But I pivoted because I then reached out to people that I knew in the community. So religious leaders from all backgrounds, community leaders, and I had them start writing letters of support and putting those out in the newspapers and really fighting people. They diminished who I was. They didn't take into account my biotech background or my business background or my nonprofit background. They wanted to show me as just a PTA mom, like, oh, there she is. She's just a PTA mom. And I took that and I ran with it. And I said, let me tell you what PTA moms accomplish. We budget for our kids. We make sure we're raising funds that are equitable across the board for our schools. We work with our teachers and our principals. We get the job done, and it's hard work. So if PTA moms are out there, know that we do have a place at the table and we should be fighting for higher office. And that really just converted people's thoughts from, oh my gosh, here she is getting beat up, but now she's fighting back. And you do have to fight back and stand up for yourself. Because if you don't, politics eats you up alive.
Clearly you are a fighter, and I think that is so impressive. I could tell by your personality that nothing is going to tell you not to talk. No one is going to tell you not to do something. Did that man who ever said you're kind, whether he was trying to be friendly or maybe it was, I don't know. When people get angry, I don't always assume they're racist. I assume they either don't know or they just go with the flow of the past.
Yeah.
Did he ever call you up and congratulate you or say,
No.
wow, I was wrong? Did you ever run into him?
No, he actually moved out of the area. So
oh, there you go. That's usually what happens sometimes when we move in. But I'm so excited to have you. Now, I know that, when I mentioned earlier, the Americans, when they look at you, they don't know what your background is. They say, oh, Muslim, you must be. There's one stereotype, one image of Muslims and Arabs. We're all the same, they think.
Right.
But tell us about the community in Irvine. Did you win because the Muslim and Arab and Pakistani and Indian community, did they come out in support of you, or were they really a small part of it? And did you win by appealing to the non-Muslim, non-Arab, and non-Pakistani community?
Oh, if you look at the demographics in Irvine, you've got about, 40 to 43% Caucasian. You've got 40% that are API, and the largest of those are the Chinese, Korean, and Korean communities. When you look at the Muslim population, one, it's hard to tell because there's no data that collects it,
Right.
But we estimate based on names and things that we can link. So you're looking at anywhere from 5 to 8% that are Muslim, and then that would include the Pakistanis and the Arab but there is also quite a few Persians in Irvine, but again, not the vast majority like we see as Caucasian or the Chinese or the Korean communities. So yeah, I did have to reach out to those communities and get support from just about everyone.
And that makes your victory even more, powerful, because you didn't win just on the basis of one community trying to put you in office. You had to reach out to everybody and win them over, and apparently you did. What was the issue that in that 2018 issue, was there one or two issues that really stood out that resonated with voters, that connected them to you, that helped you win your seat? And then in the mayoral race a couple years later, was it the same issue or a different issue?
So the first time around in 2018, a lot of the issues were around housing, transportation, the environment, and those were all three things that I was leading on, and it even showed some of the work I'd done prior to even being elected. And also, I ran on making sure that we were going to make our community more inclusive. Because of the hate that I faced, I wanted to make sure that no one else in our city was, pinpointed as the xenophobia, the bigotry, all of that stuff needed to be dealt with. And so those are some topics that I spoke of. And I think those really resonated with our API community as well. But when it came to 2020, it was totally different. It was, all pandemic. It was social injustice. We have about an 11% Hispanic American population and probably a 2.5% Black population. And when they came out, especially the Black community during the Black Lives Matter rallies, I was at the very first rally and several others after that. And I, remember our mayor at the time really pointing me out, using my pictures at the rally, saying, "Oh, she's out there trying to incite violence."
Wow.
And that, that I was against the police and I wanted to, eliminate safety in the city. And really that targeting of me, I'm like, okay, she's targeting me right now just as one person, but that's how our communities get targeted day after day. And so I really made an effort to uplift the community's voices and make sure that their issues were being heard. And so that campaign was all about doing the right thing for the pandemic. And of course, standing up and speaking out for social injustice issues.
That's an amazing story. And it's just so good to hear this, and it spreads the word to other people that in our communities that don't shy away from politics. It isn't going to be easy, right? If you're going to get into politics.
Yeah.
But once you get in, you can do so much. Do you feel you've been able to do a lot, not just for the Arab and Muslim communities, but also for the non-Arab and Muslim communities that you represent, the majority community?
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like I've been on a treadmill racing for the past 5 years because it's you're up against time. And so one of the first things I did when I became mayor was I established the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. And I appointed, an African-American man that I met at one of the rallies on the committee to really uplift the voices of our community members. But through that committee, we have done so much as far as being able to outreach into our general population and making sure we were celebrating each other. For the first time in our city's history, we celebrated Juneteenth, we celebrated Hispanic Heritage, and we celebrated Mid-Autumn Festival. And, and last year, I held a Ramadan event at City Hall, and it brought our Muslim community together. And so, those are ways that we really bring our community together to understand each other, to learn about our cultures and our religions, and not to be afraid. And I think that's something that has really sparked an interest in our community members, where they are coming out. Like the first time a council member and I were talking about Mid-Autumn Festival is very popular in the Chinese and Asian communities. That he and I basically were like, okay, we'll gauge about 250 people. If even 100 come, that'll be great. So I had 250 mooncakes. He brought 250 boba drinks, and we sat out at the Great Park, and 2,000 people showed up.
Wow.
And that told us that, when you make even the smallest effort to bring people together, they come out because they're craving it. And so we just ran with that year after year since then. To make sure that even the smallest population, I'll tell you, I get so much hate on social media. The last time we celebrated Hispanic, of course.
Right.
The last time we celebrated Hispanic Heritage, there were so many comments on, there's such a small population. It's only like 11%. Why are we so focused on them? That's exactly why we're focused on them. And I don't care if you're 0.5% of the population in our city. We're going to celebrate you, and we're going to make sure that you feel like you're a part of this city.
It seems like if you're a small minority, there should be an effort to recognize you because you're a small part of a society. Society or your community is going to overlook you unless someone
Yeah.
like you lifts them up. I assume that a lot of non-Arab, non-Muslims, white members of the community and others probably learn more about our communities because they have someone like you at the helm.
Absolutely. I mean, you see the people that are coming out to these events, and they're not just there for the music or the food or the art, but they're actually having interactions. They're getting to know their neighbors. They're meeting new friends. They're understanding what the culture is all about, and that's what's important.
And when you, one of the questions, actually, let me go to this one about what do you think are the top three issues that your administration, as mayor, wants to address, is addressing, and wants to change or improve? Are there? I mean, there may be more, but I mean, just what would those three big issues be to you, for you as mayor of Irvine?
It's so hard to narrow it down to three, but I would say the three biggest issues that we have been consistently working on has been housing, transportation, and of course the environment, but also safety. Irvine has been listed as the safest city in the nation 17 consecutive years, and that's really important. But housing, really, when I first ran in 2016 and 2018, I was the only candidate out there talking about I wanted to, work with our developers and deliver on housing. And I got beat up for that because people were like, don't build any more homes. It's getting too crowded. But, constantly sharing our stories of what brought us to the city. For me, it was my kids. I wanted the best education for them. I wanted the safe environment for them. And that's a similar story for so many people, that who are we to shut the door after we get in? And I think, that resonated with people. And now, with all the expenses that are happening and the housing costs, people are realizing that there are kids that grew up here that are now graduating from college, can't even afford to come back to the city. So we do need more housing, and we need a diverse set of housing that accommodates, especially affordable housing, workforce housing that accommodates for our population. So that has shifted a lot.
Now, when you run for office, are you partisan politics, like a Republican or a Democrat, or are you nonpartisan?
So the local offices are always nonpartisan, but everyone knows. Right. I mean, I'm a Democrat, and that's what I run on. And even though the office is nonpartisan, you get the word out.
But you can work with everybody regardless of their political.
Absolutely.
Right. And how there's one big issue that we hear about in the southern part of the U.S. I don't know if it's hit California or Irvine, but it's the migrant issue. It just seems like so many people are coming in, and it puts people in a weird position, I think, where on the one hand, my parents are immigrants. They immigrated to this country, and we have to have an immigration system that's open to everybody. But on the other hand, that it seems like it's beyond the legal aspects of immigration. How do you view this issue of migrants and immigrants and undocumented? What's your perspective on it, given where you come from?
I feel that our federal system, when it comes to immigration, someone's got to take the lead and fix it. We wouldn't have an issue with migrants or undocumented if that system worked. Right. But for the meantime, we do have populations of migrants and undocumented people that are here, and it's our job to make sure that they are integrated into our communities, that they are provided with opportunities so they can survive. And it's very important. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've spoken up, at rallies and other places, written letters to our Congress people, really encouraging them to do what's right. And it's bad for us. It's bad for our economy that we don't fix this system. And it's hurting the people that are here. They're not here because they just wanted to cross the border and come. They're fleeing situations that are harmful and sometimes deadly for them. And they're trying to protect themselves and their families. So now that they're here, what are we doing to make sure that they are safe, that they have a path forward, and that they are able to become thriving members of our communities.
So it's really a federal issue where the federal government really should fix the system, as you say. But in the meantime, how do you turn your back on somebody that needs food, that needs shelter, regardless of how they got here? As long as they haven't committed crimes, they're all
Right.
trying to do whatever they can do the right way. We have to be helpful to them.
We do. And then it's unfortunate that a lot of times, employers take advantage of those that are undocumented because they're not getting the same wages that everyone else is. They're being abused when it comes to labor laws. And so there's a lot of work to be done. And so whatever we can do here at the local level to support the people, we will do. But definitely at the federal level, more needs to be done, like right now.
Well, just talking to you, I know you're definitely not a person who is willing to just say, hey, this is as far as I've gone and I don't need to go any further, although I'm sure that, and you are, from what I've heard from you, you're a great mayor. But I also understand that you're going to be running for Orange County Board of Supervisors in District 3. How many board members, how many districts are there? And
There are
is that
5 districts.
and what's the main city in that district?
So the main city is Irvine in the district that I'm running in. It's about 40% of the district. And it includes 6, 7 other cities and some unincorporated land as well.
And that's in Orange County. So that gives you a strong base then, having been elected in one of the largest portions of that county district. You have an opportunity to kind of expand these great ideas that you have to a broader audience beyond Irvine. How is that going? So
far, so good. I'm up against an incumbent. People laugh and they're like, you made this your thing to run against incumbents. But really, I wouldn't have run if I felt the person was doing their job. When it comes to homelessness, when it comes to housing, when it comes to, again, immigrant resources, when it comes to the environment, when it comes to transportation, this person is not doing their job. In fact, during the pandemic, he held on to funds that were provided to the county and their districts for people. And I remember sending emails saying, look, we're struggling. We need money here. Can you send some down to our city? And we got just barely the bare minimum. So how are you able to help people if you don't even get the funds? And how are you able to sit in that seat knowing that you have funds that you're not dispersing out to the community in the time when they need it the most? And so really that's what it comes down to is, again, we need better representation that's going to commit to doing the work and being there for the residents and the businesses and workers of this district. And that's exactly what I'm hoping to do.
And have you filed for it, or is that something that you announced for that you're going to be filing for?
I did announce. Yeah, just about a month ago I announced, and filing will be coming up shortly. But right now it's raising those funds to be able to reach out. It's over 600,000 people in the district. And so definitely need to have enough in our accounts so that we can get the mailers and the signs and the digital ads going.
And what's the campaign website, if you don't mind?
It's conforsupervisor.com.
All right, I'll make sure that gets out. Any final thoughts, Mayor Khan? Anything else? Again, we're talking about you. We're talking about your office. We're talking about politics, society, and the future of an important community of Arabs and Muslims and Pakistanis, and making change and bringing change. And the best way to open the eyes of the American people as to who we really are is to be in their face and show them that when you're in office, you do so much far better than some of the people that have been in that office before. Any final thoughts, any other comments or issues you'd like to bring up?
I do. I think it's very important for our community, especially, to get involved in politics. One of the basic ways of doing that is being informed and voting. But we need more people to run for office, to be in the community, to understand the community's needs, run a strong campaign and win. It can't be just one-offs like me here and someone else, one county down. We need more. And really, my focus has been encouraging the next generation of people coming up to look at public office as an opportunity to serve and to do good in the community. So I am here for anyone that needs help or would like mentorship, because I love to see more of our faces and our names out there when it comes to politics and leadership.
I hope to be at the ADC conference, where you're going to be one of the speakers at the Alex Oda ADC convention. And when I'm there, I hope that I'm honored to get a chance to actually meet you in person. My guest is Mayor of Irvine, California, Farrah Khan. Farrah, Mayor Khan, just to show respect. I've covered City Hall for years. But I just want to say thank you so much for joining our program today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back with our next guest right after these messages.
ArabNews.com, bringing you breaking news from across the Middle East and the latest on Arabs in America. Get inside the latest headlines with expert analysis and insights at ArabNews.com. Join over 5 million Facebook fans and over 10 million monthly readers. ArabNews.com, news that matters to you.
Ziyad brand, quality products from our family to yours. Ziyad Brothers Importing offers the finest quality products, including brands like Sultan, Kraft, Nestle, Hook, Rico Picon, Donna, and many more. Ask your retailer to carry these fine products, because you deserve the very best. For more information, visit our website at www.ziyad.com. That's www.ziyad.com. Ziyad, quality products from our family to yours.
Are you going to start a restaurant or grocery store soon? Do you need floor plans and designs? Call Naji Abood at 734-744-9796. Do you want to buy kitchen and restaurant equipment at discount prices? Call Naji Abood now, 734-744-9796. New Concept Products and Design, the trademark of kitchen equipment. 5% discount on all purchases of $75,000 or more. New Concept Products and Design, new location, 31185 Schoolcraft in Livonia. Learn more at www.newconceptproducts.com. Call Naji Abood, 734-744-9796.
And welcome back to the radio show. It's Ray Hanania here on the U.S. Arab Radio Network. So I got a great guest. I first met her, I don't know how many years ago, back in the early 90s, I think, when she was a Cook County commissioner. So smart, so innovative, always had some great ideas. And today she is one of the most popular elected officials, not just in Cook County, but in the state of Illinois. She is now the treasurer of Cook County, Maria Pappas. Maria, welcome to the radio show.
That's very kind of you. Thanks, Trey. I've got so many good things to tell you about today, especially affecting the Arab community. So shall I get started?
Well, let me start by just saying that, you know, what was amazing to me to have you on as a guest was that you reached out to the Arab community. You wanted to include them. You wanted to bring them in because I know the Arab community, they're not that organized sometimes, they're not that cohesive, but you look past all that and you said, you know what, you could do something to help them. You started this unique program to get refunds of overpayment for taxes. You could have done that for everybody, and you did. But then you reached out to the Arabs. Tell us why you did that.
Well, you know, I grew up ethnic, so I grew up speaking Greek. You get to first grade and people are speaking English and you're like with a thumb in your mouth, like, what language is this? So I grew up in a culture much like the Arab culture, where everybody lives in the same house. You know, there's 13 people in the house. There's 50 people for dinner every night, you know. One person's cooking 25 things. And if you don't go to the mosque or the church every night and go to, you know, ethnic school after regular school, you know, we used to call it American school and Greek school, Arab school and American school, you know, you just don't survive. And you have to marry your own, and there's certain things that you have to do or you get ostracized. So
you understand the Arab community.
I understand how they think. I understand how they dress. I understand, you know, why they go to their, I get it, because you have to grow up an ethnic hyphenated American to appreciate what it is that you're trying to do. And it's pretty simple. It's let's preserve what? Our identity. And if you think about it, the problems that we're having today is that people don't have an identity. So who's their identity? Here's this kid who's fatherless and homeless, and the identity becomes a gang structure. Have you ever heard of anybody Arab or Greek belonging to a gang?
Very few. But every community has some problems. But you're right.
Why not? Because there's a group that they belong
That's
to.
true.
Yeah,
that's true.
There's a group that they belong to, and if they step outside the norms and the values of the group, they get beat up on and they get ostracized, and they get ostracized quickly. So for me, always hearing other languages was really something that I was attuned to. So in Chicago, actually within the county of Cook, there are 127 spoken languages. When I first became treasurer, I couldn't understand why on the due date there were all these people downstairs in line when they had all this other time to pay. So I went downstairs and I realized that no one in that line, and there must have been 500 or 600 people, no one was speaking English. People had purses, they had little bags, and no one was speaking English. They were speaking all these languages. So I went back upstairs and I said to my chief at the time, I said, we need to run census data. He goes, well, why are we running census data? It's the busiest day of the year. I said, because nobody's speaking English. I said, I don't know what's going on down there. And I said, everybody's got cash. I said, they're in there with purses and cash.
And let me just set the stage before you continue, because that's a great story. But I want people to understand you're in this big, massive building, the Cook County building, which is kind of connected to City Hall, right down in the center of Chicago. And the first floor, you have all these offices where people come in and either pay their taxes or they check on their taxes. And you see all these people and they don't speak any English and they don't understand the process.
Nothing.
And you right away figure we have to do something, right? What did you do?
So Mike Shine at the time was my deputy, and he runs the census data. And I'm sitting in my office and he comes in and he says, there's 127 languages. I said,
wow.
Really? They're all downstairs. And I said, and they all own homes. And they're going to keep getting in line down here and asking questions and speaking these other languages unless we do something about it. So immediately, we picked the top 27 languages, wrote up a brochure on each one, and then over time, so if you were Arab and you came to my counter, here's what happens. When a foreigner comes to the counter, Arab, Polish, Chinese, Spanish, they don't come alone. They come with 3 other people. Okay? They never come by them. So now the office is full of, 4 Hispanics, 4 Arabs, 4 Ukrainians, 4 Greeks, 4 Romanians. So instead of having translators, we would hand them these brochures and they felt comfortable. So now we decreased the traffic. But as we decreased the traffic, what we did was we became the most sophisticated website in the country for government. We get as many as 2 million visitors a month. And we can tell you how many people download in Arabic because it's in Arabic. So what do? We tell people going back 20 years, whether or not they overpaid on their taxes, and we're sitting on like 87 million there. And
wow. Before we get into the overpayment, I want to go back to this, what you did, because it really is sophisticated. You recognize that there was a problem in your office, and probably a problem in every county and city and state office. They all face the same thing. A large segment of the population come in with their native ethnic languages. They don't understand what's happening. You have to then go to great lengths to try to understand them. It's a lot of work for you. It's a lot of work for them. So you take your website and you expand it to translate it into 127 languages?
Right.
So anybody can go there in whatever language, basically, and
From any
get
place in
the
the world.
answers to get the answers that they need without standing 4 hours or 3 hours in line and try to explain to you what it is they need. Why didn't anybody else think of that?
I don't know, but what I did beyond that is this is the front page of the website, which is cookcountytreasure.com. And we picked the top 6 languages here, which is English, Spanish, Polish, Cantonese, Mandarin, and Arabic. So
Right.
now you can punch on a video in Arabic. We hired a professional translator after we did the graphics. We hired a professional Arab translator, even though Hassan is my Cook County deputy treasurer. I have a deputy treasurer in most of these communities, so he gives me info about what to do. We put this video up so that it could be linked to Arab websites and mosques so that people don't have to come downtown, because nobody wants to come into the city. So now this very complicated process, even if you don't understand it after you go to your phone and your iPad and your computer, you can punch on your phone, your iPad, or your computer Arabic, and everything about what we do shows up in Arabic. Why is that important? Because most people don't understand the property tax system in English. So if you're talking to someone who's Arab speaking or Greek speaking or Spanish speaking, it's just easier for them to understand it. So let me give you an example. You don't wake up in Palestine in the morning and say, did I get an exemption? I mean, you just don't do that. So there are thousands of Arabs who don't have exemptions because they don't know what an exemption is. They don't,
Right.
they don't even know what a disability exemption is, because you know, it's a funny thing. I remember one time when the Democratic convention was here and Daley was mayor, and all the restaurants on Halsted Street were hosting different states from different parts of the country for the Democratic convention. And they sent me to Greektown because not one Greek restaurant had a wheelchair accessible bathroom. So I went over there and I said to the Greeks, you got to get wheelchair accessible bathrooms. And you know what they said?
What?
When was the last time you saw a Greek in a wheelchair?
Right.
Greeks aren't in wheelchairs. The family
Halsted
stays home and
Street
takes care of them. What?
Right.
We pick them
Like
up.
a lot of ethnic groups. If you have somebody that's
And they're-
disabled, they don't need a wheelchair.
Think about it. No, think about it. The Arabs would say the same thing. When was the last time you saw an Arab in a wheelchair? Because they
And
stay home.
Greektown, and just for our listeners, because we have people all over the country in Detroit and Michigan, Halsted Street is a huge, probably one of the first ethnic areas in the city of Chicago, one of several. But Greektown was very popular going back, as far as I know, to the 60s. When I was a kid, we'd go to Greektown to get the closest to Arab culture. So the Democratic convention comes to Chicago, they send people to Greektown, and what? And then they discover this problem, and you have to go talk to them.
Yeah, they sent me over there. And all the Greeks get really upset with me because now they have to remodel their restaurants. They have like 3 weeks to do it, right?
That's funny. Before the Democratic convention to be ready for it.
Yeah. They're like, what did they do? What did they tell the mayor? I'm not going to do that. You know what I mean? But there's certain things about all these ethnic groups, if you're also ethnic and growing, that you understand. And,
Right.
and part of it is the language and the customs that go with it. So Arabs and Greeks don't understand exemptions. They don't understand that if they're over 65, they're going to get more money off their bill. They don't understand if they're over 65 and making under 65,000 that they're going to get more off their bill. And they don't understand that if they're disabled, they can get money off their bill.
So they can claim these exemptions on their property taxes, but they have to do it. They have to fill out the form. They have to apply.
They won't do it.
Because they don't
And they don't do it because they don't know.
Got it.
So now they're starting to know, because once you get the guy who's heading up the mosque to get $3,000, they all start, it's like chitter chatter.
It spreads.
Yeah, and they
Spreads
go out,
fast.
now they go out to dinner. You know, they go out to dinner in Bridgeview and they're sitting in restaurants and say, hey, did you hear Maria Pappas has $133,000? Look at this Arab video. And they start talking, like, so I, without any, real work at all, even though I do go to a lot of their events and stuff, I become a celebrity because I recognize them. I appreciate who they are. I respect the culture. I respect the fact that they have certain customs that work. And I should add that this is not a community that's unaware. The Arab community is aware, and they're a voting community. I keep telling my colleagues, you need to do a wake-up call. You need to acknowledge who this group is and what it is that they bring to the table. I mean, I go to a mosque out there, and I bet on the way in, 50 people speak to me who are doctors and lawyers and accountants that I know who I never knew were Muslims. They're like, Maria, what are you doing here? I'm like, I'm giving out money. What are you doing here? I'm praying. I said, well, it's Friday afternoon. What do you do? Close your office? They're like, yeah,
And that's interesting because you're right. A lot of politicians and elected officials take certain ethnic communities for granted. They don't see them. They're not that active. But Arab Americans are big voters, especially in Cook County and in the state of Illinois. But you went one step further. In addition to engaging them in this process of setting up 127 translations on your website, cookcountytreasurer.com, you also said, hey, there are a lot of people that overpay their taxes, and you want to help them get that money back. So you start a refund program for different ethnic communities that you think need the most help to engage the process and get their money. And the Arabs were at the top of the list. How much money, do you have an idea? First of all, overall, how much money do you think that Arabs got back? And overall for the county, how much money did people overpay? Because that's unusual to hear a politician want to give money back.
If I were to guess what I owe them, it's probably between 10 and 15 million on the low end.
Just in the Arab community.
Yeah, because they're businessmen. So here's what happens. They do a restaurant closing on a shopping center, and they just want to get to the next restaurant or close the next lease. So they get at the refinance closing, all of these papers. I mean, I'm a lawyer. I don't know what I'm signing. So they're signing. So at the end of the signing, both finance companies agree to pay the next tax bill. Now the Arab owner of the shopping center gets a tax bill on November 1st, payable December 1st, and he pays it. So now my website will tell you that there's 3 people who paid. So if the bill was $30,000, I owe this person $60,000, and that's what
because the bank paid it at the closing.
Both banks paid. Both banks.
Both banks pay. The owner still gets a notice that these taxes are due because the payment's in process.
So they forgot.
They pay it.
They pay. So now I've got 3 payments of $90,000 total when the guy only owed 30. So I've got these people who go to my website, and you're in the right place because there's a picture of the house or the lot or the commercial property. It's pretty
They can find their property online.
They scroll down and it says refund from 2022. Wow. Goes back 20 years. And they'll tell you.
And you've managed to identify in this process of going to the mosque, going to the Christian Arab churches, explaining this to them, that they can apply and identify this money and get the money back. And you say it's as much as 15 million that's coming back. I would say that's probably what we owe Arab Americans. It could be higher. Wow. So we're working on it. Hassan's out there, and he's constantly, telling people, and we're constantly giving out bags. We've got QR cards. We've got QR cards in Arabic and English that we go, when I go to a restaurant, I hand out these cards. And I don't want to miss the point to emphasize to our listeners, again, another great thing that you've done. You hired individuals from some of the major communities to help act as liaisons.
Yeah,
to
I've
your
got,
office in that community. Hassan Nijam is in the Arab community. You have people from the Asian community,
I have
the
people from the
Hispanic
Armenian
community.
Assyrian community, Hispanics and everything. Everything.
I've never seen any elected official do that. Usually when a government official has money, the last thing they want to do is give it back to the taxpayers. They're going to
Well,
keep it and hope they don't know. But you're sitting
but
there
here's
doing the
what
exact
happens.
opposite.
Yeah,
I
here's
get it.
why. If they don't claim the money, if the money's not claimed, the money goes to the government.
Right.
So I'm looking at this, because once they do pay, like their regular taxes, if they overpay, within 30 days, it has to go to the city or Cicero or Northbrook or Glenview. So now they're sitting on an interest-free loan. If you, Ray Hanania, overpay, I have to go back and tell Palos, give me Ray's money back. So now they're short. You follow me?
Right.
Sitting on an interest-free loan.
So they don't want it. They don't want to be short. So they're not going to say nothing. That doesn't make you popular, though, does it? With a lot of government officials.
I'm 74 years old. I'm gray-haired grandmother. I'm 20 pounds overweight, and I don't really care who likes me. I'm done.
You have a great attitude. I've known you for 30 years or more.
Yeah.
You have a great
I have
attitude,
such good
Maria.
memories.
Always concerned about people. Let's go back to the other question I wanted to ask you. What you have such a great background, your education. Tell us a little bit about that. You ended up in politics, and you're a good person who applied everything that you learned in a professional way to politics. Most people would apply it to themselves and just have a happy, wealthy life. But you decided to go in public life. Tell us about your background.
Well, I buy this is my puppy. She's barking. I really am a shrink. I am a very, very good private practice here in Chicago for almost 15 years. And I have taught psychology in 8 countries. I had a flourishing practice here, and I was testifying in court, which led me to law school. One of the judges said, you ought to go to law school. So I went to law school. I didn't tell anybody. But when I got out, the newspaper published my name as a lawyer. And so these hundreds of psychologist clients that I had came to me as a lawyer. So now I never went to the Daily Center. I was just the person who got the business. And I had a partner who went to court, but I had a very successful practice. And then one day somebody came in and said, you should run for the county board because it's about jails and hospitals, which I was interested in. And I ran and I won, but nobody knew who I was. So now I'm on the county board, which is when I met you and Dick Phelan was the president. And we used to go out all the time because I never owed anybody anything. So then that went on for 8 years of chronic and constant warfare. And then Roswell, the current treasurer, was indicted at that time. And they said, we need you to get down there and straighten it up. And I did. And I went. There was $30 million worth of checks on the floor. They were 100 and some odd million off. There was no email.
The county was a mess.
There was no website, no email, no Y2K. There was nothing. And I sat down, shut up, and it took me, all of 20 years to fix it. But I'm not done. I'm just getting ready to institute. I just am hiring. He starts next week, probably one of the top artificial intelligence guys in the nation, and a couple of Python programmers. So stay tuned, because I'm going to be the most sophisticated artificial intelligence office in the nation.
First, that would be a first for government. Just even the word putting intelligence into government is going to be unique. You've had it all your life in politics and government, but not a lot of elected officials.
This is going to be my swan song going out the door in 8 years. Nice. There'll probably be 40 people left in the office.
Maria, and just again, our listeners, this is Maria Pappas. She's the Cook County Treasurer. She's a former member of the Cook County Board for a number of years. She reached out to all the ethnic communities, 127 of them, when she realized that a lot of ethnic groups weren't getting the process and understanding it. So she made it easy for them to understand it by translating everything on her website into 127 languages. If you find any website that has more than 2 translations, English and Spanish, I'm shocked sometimes. I don't see that. 127 is amazing.
Well,
And
stay tuned, because my mission over the next 8 years is to have an Arab phone system.
that's going to be phenomenal. And the most important thing is you didn't want to leave anybody out of the
No way.
circle. You reached out to Arab Americans. You helped them understand that they were overpaying, and you helped them find 15 million in overpayments, and it could be even more. This is a process that continues, correct?
Yeah, continues every day.
Amazing.
Every
All right.
every time there's a due date, people overpay by at least 30 million.
Wow.
Every time.
And that's twice a year that they pay the taxes, right?
Like, seriously?
Wow.
You can see
That's
it
a
coming.
lot.
We set up a program where we stop the second payment, but there's 30 million we can't even stop. You'd be
Wow.
shocked.
That's amazing. All right. My guest, Maria
Always good to
Pappas,
see you. Always good to see you. You're the
Cook
best.
County Treasurer. Maria, thank you so much for joining us.
See you soon.
All right. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back right after these messages.
ArabNews.com, bringing you breaking news from across the Middle East and the latest on Arabs in America. Get inside the latest headlines with expert analysis and insights at ArabNews.com. Join over 5 million Facebook fans and over 10 million monthly readers. ArabNews.com, news that matters to you. At Top Rehab Physical Therapy Clinic in Dearborn, we provide effective physical therapy sessions in order to limit pain and discomfort. Top Rehab provides physical therapy care for any diagnosis prescribed by a physician, and we regularly see and treat conditions such as stroke, TMJ, fibromyalgia, sciatica, joint pain, and more. We use a variety of pain management methods, including modalities, soft tissue mobilization, and therapeutic exercise. If you're in need of physical rehabilitation or physical therapy, get the highest quality health care at Top Rehab. Most insurance is accepted, and we're open Monday, Wednesday, and Friday 8 to 6, Tuesday and Thursday 8 to 5, and Saturday 10 till 2. Call for an appointment today at 313-846-0555. That's 313-846-0555. Choose Top Rehab Physical Therapy Clinic on Michigan Avenue in Dearborn. Life's too short to be in pain. Life for Relief and Development has now been rated as one of the best charities for humanitarian aid. Life's humanitarian projects span the globe, and Life is celebrating its 30th anniversary of providing essential life-saving aid to people and communities in 36 countries, regardless of race, color, religion, or cultural background. Where there is life, there is hope. And when disaster occurs here or around the world, including being one of the first responders to the Turkey-Syria earthquake crisis, Life for Relief and Development rushes in to provide food, medical aid, and shelter to those in need. We are looking to help the earthquake victims, and we take 0% overhead on emergency donations. So please help improve these efforts. Learn more about our involvement to help the helpless and bring hope where it's needed most, and make your tax-deductible donation to Life for Relief and Development now at lifeusa.org or call 248-424-7493. That's 248-424-7493.
When you're looking for the best in optical care, Dr. Imad Nakash is your doctor to see. With years of experience and thousands of successful procedures performed, you can trust your eyes to Dr. Imad Nakash. See Dr. Imad Nakash and his professional staff for your eye care needs. There's 2 locations to serve you. In Hazel Park, call 248-336-3937. 248-336-3937. In Rochester Hills, call 248-299-3937. That's 248-299-3937.
You have been listening to the Ray Hanania Radio Show, Season 3, Episode 23, October 4, 2023. Broadcast on the U.S. Arab Radio Network in Detroit and Washington, D.C., sponsored by Arab News, the voice of a changing region at ArabNews.com. You can listen to this podcast and all of our podcasts by visiting ArabNews.com/Ray Radio Show. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you again next week. Bye-bye, everybody.